Hey guys, I had a couple of questions from students today about how to do number 14 on that Wonka Math 4 point, oh my gosh, 2 lesson about Wonkas. So I wanted to walk through this with you. So the question here is, okay, let's say I have 120.1 grams of this substance, CM2MM3, and I want to know how many M atoms, mini M atoms are present in this sample. All right, so there's a couple steps to figuring out how to do this. And I'm going to walk you through sort of some ways to think about this and what you're doing at each step along the way. All right, so the first thing we know is we're starting with 120.1 grams of this stuff. All right, so if I were to draw this, that means I have, like, this is a classic M&M. There's two of those. So those are those. And then let's say I've got 3 mini M&Ms. And I don't know why I did them bigger, but there you go. And those are those. Okay, so that's my substance. Now, if I know that I have calculated the mass of 1 Wonka of CM, and I also know the mass of 1 Wonka of mini M&M. All right. And I'm going to use Kieran's math. So she knew that 1 Wonka of this was 12.6 grams, and a mini M&M Wonka was 4.5 grams. Okay, so that was just like one of these, like a Wonka of those. So now I want to know what would be the mass of a Wonka of this mixture of those things. So in order to figure out the mass of a 1 Wonka of CM2MM3, this would be the mass of 2 Wonkas of CM plus 3 Wonkas of mini M&M, right? So 1 Wonka here is equal to 38.7 grams. Okay? All right, now that's the first step. So I'm going to start by converting the amount of the sample I start with to how many Wonkas that is. So I know that if I'm starting, I have this much of a sample of this stuff. I want to know how many Wonkas that is. Like what fraction or how many Wonkas do I have of CM2MM3? And I know 1 Wonka is 38.7 grams. And if I'm starting with 120.1, then it must be more than 1 Wonka. It's about 3¼ Wonkas, actually. So my first step is to figure out how many Wonkas I actually have if I have the sample is 120.3 grams. And so now I know the mass of 1 Wonka is 38.7 grams, which is what I just figured out. And that's for a Wonka of those. All right. Now, so that gives me, now I have a number of Wonkas. So now let's say I have 1 Wonka of CM2MM3s. I have a Wonka of those. Well, instead of thinking about Wonkas now, let's just like break this apart. Let's just look at, let's say I have one of these, one of them, just a single one, right? So if I were to break this guy apart into pieces, I would get 2 CMs and 3 MMs. All right, I'd get 2 CMs and 3 MMs, right? So 1, 2, 3, and woo, come on, baby. 2 of these. Come on. Right, but I really only need this, is what I'm concerned about here. All right, so I know that for every one of these I break apart, I would have 3 times as many MMs as I started with. Well, if I have a Wonka of those, then I'm going to have 3 Wonkas of MMs. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, okay, I know that for every 1 Wonka of CM2MM3s I have 3 times as many MMs, 3 Wonkas in this case, because for every 1 CM2MM3, or for every 1 Wonka of those, when I break it apart into its pieces, I would have 3 times as many MMs. All right. Now, this is in Wonka still, and I want to know how many of them are present. So now I need to understand what's the Wonka. All right. Well, 1 Wonka of this thing is equal to, for you guys, most of you got like 14 or 15 things in a Wonka. So let's just use 14. Okay. So now I am at how many actually mini M&Ms would there be in 120 grams of this stuff? Okay. So that's how you would set that up.